Professor in Dean Research at Indian Institute of Management, Lucknow, and he would be speaking on the topic AI in supply chains. Professor Srivastava, over to you.
Thank you so much, Anjali, and Dr. Ravi for this opportunity. And good evening, everyone. So I'm going to share my slide screen. As you know, the theme of the conference itself is very interesting, and then supply chain is an area that excites me. And then this is back end of operations of businesses across the world. So AI has its own implications on supply chain and thereby on society and world at large. So I'll rather keep it simple and focus more on some of the things which would be of common interest to people, because each session is a type of standalone session, and I could attend a few of them and found them very interesting cross-functional knowledge that we acquired during these workshops. So let me begin. We know it's a very exciting technology, and actually AI is the next big thing in supply chain. There'll be a lot of things that keep on coming in businesses and supply chain. Say early on there was Industry 4 concept, or IoT, and then 3D printing, and so on and so forth. We talk of collaborative planning and forecasting. Lot of algorithms, software for simulation and optimization. All of these are continuously being used. But now you find a type of platform where sort of lot of decisions and activities could be taken over by AI, and that will sort of release human beings for something even more creative and more involved. So all of us know it. AI learns from unseemingly unstructured data and takes decisions, performs actions. That's important. So in context of supply chain, the machinery, equipment, and agents that are AI enabled, now these functions are being taken over by AI, and which acquires human intelligence. So a lot of automated repetitive processes and tasks in supply chain, which early on required human intervention, are either being taken over by AI or are likely to be taken over by AI in a few years, if not a few months, because it's growing exponentially. But then things are not as rosy. We'll talk towards in between also. It's very fascinating, but it's not that it's just sort of overlapping the supply chains altogether. But of course, it is transforming the way we live, interact, carry out our social and business activities, be it stock market, be it medical diagnostics, be it healthcare, otherwise, be it autonomous vehicles, or chat boxes, or personal assistants like Alexa, Siri, humanoids like Sophia. So all this is gradually coming up, and there are around 30 billion. This is an old data slightly. So at that point of time, 26 billion devices in supply chain were capturing data, and this supply chain data is mainly related to consumer behavior, operations of the suppliers across the supply chain streams, manufacturing and conversion process operations, distributions, point of sales data, and of course nowadays with a lot of focus on reverse logistics, returns management as well. So the focus of this talk, let me go quickly to it, would be mainly on applications of AI in supply chain, and because it offers contextual intelligence to supply chains, and this can be used to gain new insights in all those activities. As I mentioned, I'll focus particularly on consumer behavior, procurement, manufacturing and service operations, and then also ongoing applications in actual industries, popular software that are being used, although that will depend on the time we have. Some surveys carried out on supply chain management is the response of the stakeholders, primarily the CXOs, how their firms look at this opportunity, or do they take it as a trivial thing, a bygone fad? how much are they investing in it. So these things we'll have a look into, and then of course a little bit on from the perspective of sustainable supply chain applications, which is an interesting area of interest and research to many of us, at least interest if not research. And finally we'll discuss a few limitations and challenges. I don't know the ways forward, but we'll probably just think over it and take it forward to the discussion session subsequently. So SCM uses data in an analytics at 3 levels. And your AI, of course, as all of you know, you have been attending now for a day, and many of your enthusiasts and experts. AI takes at the top level, it's at the top, and it's not simply cognitive or predictive or prescriptive analytics, but actually a system where the overall human element itself is taken completely out of the loop itself. So say an example could be a system of waste management. Say a waste management company uses AI to reroute vehicles. How would this rerouting be done? It would be based on sensor data, which would be collected from say waste receptacles around the service area, and it can dynamically reroute the services accordingly or the vehicle movement accordingly. Of course, there could be some limitations as pointed out by some earlier presenters as well. Say the data always needs training, and then some of the historical data may not be relevant in the context which has emerged recently. So these are some of the issues which actually need to be taken care of, which still need to be addressed. And there's a big, this is taken from Mayo. In some of the slides, you'll find the sources. A lot of it is not my original thinking. I have tried to put across in simplistic terms what I thought could be relevant to the participants. So there are a lot of interactions, data science in terms of analytics, business statistics, and business intelligence and so on. Then you deploy all those deep learning, machine learning, and so on. And together, then finally, all this leads to certain scenario generation and insights. And these insights could be leveraged very well in real time, more or less, for efficiencies and greater agility and responsiveness in supply chain. And again, I'll not get into technicalities, but say NLP will be used to process data. Say a firm like Clear Metal uses machine language for predictive alerting and supply chain collaboration. So what this facilitates is that you use this big data and AI in convergence for a lot of root cause analytics in supply chain, which is primarily a diagnostic analysis. Early on, historically, it evolved with the Japanese 5 Whys and 1H, where the operator level people would be involved to get into the root cause of the problems and then suggest countermeasures, and sometimes there would be expert brainstorming teams to take care of what they call Kobetsu Kaizen. But now with AI, operator may not be involved at all many times. All the data, cognitive, pattern recognition related, all this could be captured, and then AI could suggest decisions. I still use the word suggest because taking decisions sometimes could be dangerous, and as Mr. Gupta in one of his earlier presentations talks of healthcare. If you find a very definitive suggestion, sometimes you are overconfident. So you just deploy it, but many times practically in real life scenarios, life is complex. So I would generally use the word AI to suggest rather than to just implement. We'll talk about it a bit more in subsequent slides also. And historically in supply chain and operations, it's primarily the nature of work. Of course, the economies of scale and scope as well as financial parameters do play a role, but mainly it has been the nature of work which has led to automation. And this slide just shows that the AI leads to self-learning systems, or you have applications like Watson and Amelia, Saffron, and so on. IBM's Watson is very popular. I will again have a sort of reference to it in a subsequent slide as well. These are some other simpler things like say predictive analytics. AI has actually been seen much little investment and use. So this comes from a survey last year, So firms did invest or find that it's a tech they plan to invest in use or in projected 5 years, and it's you see AI lags predictive analytics in a big way. This is what typically a supply chain is. Although in the first session in the morning itself, the professor showed a very good diagram of a supply chain in his first slide. But what essentially is in a supply chain is this slide of course captures only the forward supply chain, not the reverse part. But these type of supply chains capture a lot of activities, stakeholders, and entities, as well as facilities, deployment of technology. So all of these are captured across, say, manufacturing, suppliers, logistics, customer service, and so on. Nowadays, after sales as well, or returns as well. And this data cuts across organizations and teams. Therein lies the challenge. And then, of course, nowadays you have what we call as new social media data, events data, news data, weather data, and many of them are relevant in most of the supply chain context. So that also needs to be analyzed and taken into account, which the historical optimization softwares or similar simulation softwares are unable to capture. This comes from Gartner 2019. So actually AI is the augmenting enablement layer across all these inputs in supply chain. So let me not get into details of this. It's self-explanatory more or less. What I thought would be more interesting to you people would be what are the ongoing applications, and that would also lead us to scope for potential applications, and then what are the bottlenecks, what are the enablers, can policy play a role? So those are some of the issues I would like this discussion or this presentation to point out or move forward to. So all of us are familiar with chatbots, and they are actually redefining the way customer support is extended. They have their own limitations, but then they are quick, responsive, agile, and very, very cost effective if you have a huge customer segment. And then the customer psychologically also feels quite happy about it, in the sense the response are instantaneous, although it may not always satisfy the customer. So say KimeBot is an AI and natural language powered bots platform which uses to build digital assistants. In that process, similarly, there are a lot of applications like Siemens Lightsource plant in Germany has automated not lot, but I would say a few of its production lines to a point where they run uninterrupted for several weeks together. Then there is this firm Lineage, which keeps food cold for clients such as grocers and restaurants. It uses AI to forecast orders which arrive and leave at a warehouse. What AI helps it is in putting the pallets in the right position. Similarly, DHL uses autonomous forklifts in warehouses operations. It has been using it for a few years now. The telecom manufacturer Infinera, it uses machine language to analyze production times and logistics to predict better delivery dates. The AI algorithm provides this information to sales associates and customers, so they are actually well aware of the exact availability of the products and when they can be delivered, and so they can promise their customers accordingly. So order promise to the customer is enhanced, and in doing so, what AI does is it combines historical delivery information with customer feedback, weather reports, and logistics to give an accurate prediction when the products will get to the customer. Similarly, there are a lot of other applications. Say instead of using human couriers, firms are using robots and guided vehicles for delivering items like food, groceries, medicines, and other packaged goods. These are delivered by robots, bots, drones. So services bots will not deliver physical goods. So say firms like Marble, it delivers these type of items quickly and more efficiently. It uses patented technology, LIDAR, to navigate city sidewalks and avoid running into people and hazards. Similarly, say a traditional popular firm, Rolls-Royce. Rolls-Royce uses AI to safely transport its cargo, and it has partnered with Google to create autonomous ships. And in future, it plans to include sensors to track the ship engine performance, load and unload cargo, and also to monitor safety. Similarly, UPS uses AI-powered GPS tool Orion. Orion is on-road integrated optimization and navigation tool. This is used to create most efficient routes for its fleet. So what happens actually is customers, drivers, and vehicles submit data to the machine, and then this machine uses algorithm to create the most optimal routes. These routes, you can understand, keep on changing dynamically depending on road conditions, weather conditions, and other factors. So say nowadays in COVID situation, it was planned to go to a particular delivery center. Some say Big Basket or Grofers delivery or Amazon's delivery, and then by the time it was planned and it actually has to go, the zone becomes a containment zone. So then it has to have an alternative arrangement. So these are some of the challenges which dynamically AI could use. But then, as I shared with you, it would be trained on historical data. So a lot of refinements and a lot of improvements are actually required. Let us move on. These are some of the popular softwares. Perhaps given the time, I may not get deeper into them, but IBM's Watson is very, very popular for supply chain visibility insights. Rethink Robotics is another one, which gets into environment sensing and helps human work alongside with production lines. Japan has been very active in implementing a lot of these ideas, not necessarily through these softwares, but other softwares as well. Then you have Transvoyant, which uses algorithm to track real life movement of ships in port operations. It calculates their estimated times of arrival, again factoring port congestion, weather. So in transportation and logistics, a lot of these have big applications. Similarly, the technology from Sentient, it uses machine learning to deliver purchasing recommendations to e-commerce shoppers. And these are based on image recognition. And then rather than using only text searches and attributes like color or brand, the software actually finds visual correlation with the items that the shopper is currently browsing through, visual pattern matching. So that way it is transforming. A lot of recommender systems are also used. Similarly, Tool Group, it has an optimization software, again same thing, and it's particularly applicable in a new product where the algorithm learns from early sell-in and sell-out behavior. This feeds through to optimize inventory levels and replenishment plans. One of the areas, because I co-founded the Procurement Observatory, South Asia's first at IIM Lucknow, so we have been working on procurement. AI has not been applied in procurement much per se, but we see a lot of scope in procurement. A typical source to contract process is shown in this diagram. And so say a process like contract, it requires vetting, authoring, analysis of contract, which could be a very painstaking and multi-stage type of process. And suppose say a large company tries to have all this data on a cloud. So that's easy, that's not difficult, but how would it just cull out the information? That's a challenge, in how to collate and then take proper decisions per se. So that's very, very important, because again, simple techniques like OCR can be used to critically extract pieces of data. Say this data could be related to contract expiry, pricing sheets, bill of materials, pricing conditions, service level agreements, some key legal causes, and so on. So they are not easy to actually extract and track, because there'll be tens of thousands of contracts for a large corporation across its procurement, sales, and HR departments. So by determining workflows and how best to organize the documents in advance, and then tagging and filtering functions could be built into this sort of platform before implementation. And also particular structure and easy access are needed. So all these need to be defined and put in place properly. So once that is done, the data could be extracted and tracked easily with the systems using dashboards and filtering mechanisms. And what this would enable is some of the this is again sort of routine analysis type of thing. This would allow the procurement team to really understand the contracts, and at the same time, a lot of their manas would be saved. So then they can focus on key activities such as building the ideal contract terms and strategies for renewals and negotiations and so on. So this is where AI could be very, very useful in the procurement process. Another area where it could be very useful could be in guided buying, spot buying, and help desk service. So spot buying, I think needs no explanation. Most of you do know. But guided buying is a buying where users outside the professional procurement group actually can place have a place marketplace type of virtual phenomena where they can search for goods and services, make purchases with little or no involvement from so-called procurement specialists. So Ariba, say, offers such type of platforms. And if you talk of public procurement, say, we can, not exactly that way, but say government e-marketplace in India, GEM. It's also a marketplace which provides for a platform to the government organization where any government stakeholder, he or she may not be a procurement specialist, can take this buying decision easily. And GEM, you know, so far has been a reasonably huge success in the story in the Indian context. Some of you are not aware, probably need to visit the government e-marketplace website. You'll find that a lot of interesting things have been done there. So what would be the benefits of AI applications in procurement? These are some examples taken out from various sources and collated at a place. So legal service firms and consumer electronic firms, and then mining majors, telecom majors, all they have carried out in these activities in different functions like spend management or help desk or vendor management or contract management. And process times have reduced drastically. There have been savings. In case of chat box, average handling time reduced by 25% for that telco major. There was 30% reduction in cost. The turnaround time also reduced by 55%. Similarly, for the consumer electronic goods found, analysis time reduced by 80%. So there have been a lot of benefits. Some of the applications I already shared with you, but what could be the potential applications? So that's another important area I would like to dwell for 5 minutes. Say all of us know vehicle-to-vehicle communication combined with AI can cut down on collisions and sort of tackle congestion by proactively alerting drivers, pilots, captains, whatever vehicle they are driving to anticipate problems and avoid collisions and any other traffic hazards. So this led to the focus on autonomous vehicles, and you know Elon Musk is very popular with the younger generation, and now he's 6th or 7th in terms of wealth as well. And then as individuals, we are keener on passenger vehicles, but actually much more benefit would come in freight transportation. And this is an area which where a lot of work has been going on across countries. And companies like Google, Apple, the established ones also, they sometimes don't have their own competencies. Then what they have been getting into from business perspective, they have been acquiring startups which have come up with some innovation in some area of driverless car system. So one of the examples given on the slide is about Ford acquiring an Israeli startup. Similarly, a lot of potential applications, some of which have been started getting applied is in areas of supply chain risk management. Supply chain risk management strategies basically depend on rapid and adaptive decision making. So this make AI a very suitable candidate as a technique. This can be employed to not only automate SCRM decisions, but also transform traditional SCRM practices of, say, modeling supply chain statistically. They used to be static models, so they can be converted to dynamic representation, which can be adapted through learning and prediction. I am not overemphasizing on COVID, but what COVID brings in is it has brought home the need to reduce global supply chain vulnerabilities in particular. Lot of focus has, or used to go, although I have been telling students all across early on also, that you have to be local, think global, act local, and now supply chain length will again shorten, at least for the time being, and lot of focus would be on meeting these vulnerabilities through quick and agile supply chains, and where decisions are taken through intelligent workflows. So because say the customer expectation is changing, more focus say for our groceries. I myself experienced early March, late March, early April, ordering on say big basket or grocers. The main focus was on timely delivery. Reliability and delivery dependability was more important than precision. There would be a lot of breaches, say DC closed for sanitization, manpower not available. There could have been a power breakdown, which is normal also otherwise. So these type of things, and what AI could be useful, although I don't know how much it has been applied, would be in identifying patterns, correct and adapt. Some of the things I could as a consumer always find out initially when we would say order for milk or say atta, there would be rationing in these. They would not allow you more than 10 kg atta or more than say 1.5 to 2 liters milk, because again they were trying to match demand with supply, and also on social welfare in the sense majority of the people get the bare minimum. And gradually once the supplies were resurrected, they quickly responded, not necessarily using AI, but of course they were adaptable and agile. And then they sort of did away with most of these. Another thing you as user must have observed, because of consumer panic as well as sort of potential scarcity, they did away with all their sort of discounts and so on. And most of the goods were sold at MRP. Now, after 2 months of stabilization, a lot of the discounts have come back. Then another interesting area of application is sustainable supply chain. It's an area where I do a lot of research work, but this is not the time to get into those details. But AI could probably be used particularly in sustainable supply chain risk management, say in domains like biodiversity preservation. A lot of this data can be tracked and traced and analyzed and correlated, and patterns can be deciphered, and then accordingly suitable actions can be taken. E-sourcing software can be used as a software as a service, so that could be another good potential area. Say, let's take an example. A global supplier of automotive parts, say, is looking for say into a negotiation contract for carbon steel and say stainless steel. So these type of sectors, they focus highly on cost, and then also they need to be nimble and innovative. So this type of firm can use this e-sourcing software as a service. Again, it has to be backed with say something like a sourcing optimization engine, then some scenario analysis capability, so that it covers functionality in intelligent bid sheet design, request for quotations, request for bids, and so on. Carrying out e-auctions, capturing e-auction data, analyzing e-auction data, and so on. This was the picture 4 or 5 years back, and you can see disruptive technologies, although people found it important, many of them didn't find them as interesting. Their utilities were not clear, and some of them, like you'll find surprising, say second last from the bottom, drones, etc. 39% of the supply chain CEOs found relevant. This was 4 or 5 years back. Let's come to a data by Gartner in 2019. And even here you can see about artificial intelligence somewhere in between. Only 17% had already invested. Another 23% has budgeted, and another 17% was planning to invest. So even then it would turn out to be around 50% only. So because business as usual, when firms are making money, they are reasonably comfortable. They invest mainly in pilots. They would not scale up immediately. They also keep on gauging the business environment and competitors' tactics and strategies. So even if the technology is available, they would not necessarily invest it immediately and scale up immediately. So those are some of the practical things which I have been observing both initially as an industry person and subsequently as an academic and as a consultant in supply chain. Digital, of course, is a generic term. So this is Gartner 2020 report. So there the investments are much higher. But even there, you can still find that about 20% odd plan to invest after 2020. And another 22% had budgeted for 2020. I'm not so sure after this pandemic, have they increased or decreased the budget? Again, would depend on the sectors. So some sectors, they see the opportunity, they would have deployed resources. In other places, they could have withheld resources. So the challenges, I think this all of you know, so just we'll have a look only. All these things, all these computational processes need good data, and AI is no exception. And then ML and all these need lot of data. But current supply chains are inherently cross-functional and cross-enterprise. Data is all spread and scattered, not easy to collect and collate, let alone analyze. And some of them have neither the requisite quality nor the quantity of data. So seamless information sharing is a big challenge. And then without access to all relevant data, algorithms will have blind spots and will often miss opportunities for optimization and execution. So way forward, I don't know, this is the last slide. Perhaps AI and blockchain together would lead to what we would call autonomous supply chain systems. These systems would be sort of self-regulating, self-governing, self-aware, self-determining. And this is all I had. Of course, one of the other challenges I would always say facing the mankind is what we need to discuss in our discussion. There's a lot of fear I come across stakeholders that will AI take over human intelligence? Will human beings be not required? So probably this is the point to ponder, although there are ways and methods where it could be devised, ways could be devised where stakeholders would be able to view, and if they deem fit, they can override decision of autonomous agents. So that's all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Srivastava, for that very useful and interesting talk. You have actually opened certain facets of supply chain. In fact, in the Indian context, supply chain management is considered to be one among the most important aspects for self-reliance. So in that context, AI in supply chain management would be very, very important. One of the questions is, Aparna has asked, many companies have their own processes and they keep on changing and evolving. Does this put a constraint on either creating product or solution for source to contract processes, or even frequent changes to AI solutions?
Yeah, it is. It is a real challenge. And standardization, as I shared in the second last slide, is not easy. And then what is typical of supply chains is there are different stakeholders, and they have their own priorities, preferences, and objectives. So they don't always align. So this is an area where a lot of challenges are there, and forcing a seamless integrated supply chain across products, across geographies is, I think, a wishful thinking. But then a lot of good initiatives can work in localized ways in select chains.
That resolves one of the issues related to source to contract, because that is again an important issue with respect to supply chain. There is something related to e-commerce. So when we talk about supply chain management, e-commerce come into the picture as well, and which is very active these days. So one of the audience members have asked, beyond cost reduction in terms of personnel cost, which is basically the workforce cost, has there been any research on reduction in e-commerce returns?
Returns has a lot to do with policy rather than anything else. Say you have a 30-day return window or you have a 7-day return window. A lot of analysis has gone on those areas.
Right.
But and then of course how you design the return network, whether it will be transshipped, where it will go to original warehouse or to some other facility. So in the Chinese context, a lot of papers have come where they have captured real life data also. But as far as manpower reduction is concerned, that's another issue. A lot of it in most of the supply chains right now is outsourced. So it goes to the third parties. Again, another challenge, although I'm eating up time, is whether you combine delivery and return, or you do it separately. So again, the solution would be context specific, depending on what the volume of data is, what the customer type behavior is, what the company is promising to the customer.
Thank you so much, Professor Srivastava. This was a very fascinating talk, and we actually got a lot of facets about supply chain, which makes our knowledge more diverse and more focused on AI. Thank you so much.